Listen up. Stop battling your anxiety head on. The reason your life feels so exhausting and conflicted isn't because you're not working hard enough. It's actually because you're trying too hard. You're pouring all your energy into fighting a battle you were never meant to win. I know, that might hit a nerve. It might even make you uncomfortable. You might be thinking, so I'm just supposed to give up? Let anxiety take over my life? No, quite the opposite. Today, I want to guide you toward a path where you can truly win. But this path isn't about fighting. It's about seeing through. In this video, we're going to talk about anxiety, what it's really afraid of, and what kind of energy keeps it alive. You might not realize it, but the more you fight it, the more excited it gets, like your hand feeding a monster, making it grow bigger and stronger. So next, I'm going to take you straight to the core of anxiety by peeling back its outer layers and exposing how it really works. Trust me, once you hear this, it'll hit you like a jolt. You'll suddenly realize that all these years, you've been channeling your energy in the wrong direction. At the end of the video, I'll share a super simple yet incredibly powerful hidden technique, a physical movement you can do anytime, anywhere. It can instantly break the vicious cycle of anxiety and help you regain control over your body and emotions. So, make sure you watch until the end. Trust me, this film is absolutely worth it. Let's start with a thought experiment. Imagine the smoke alarm in your home goes off. What would you do? Would you angrily grab a hammer and smash it? Or would you immediately become alert and check to see if something is on fire or if something's burning? I think any rational person would choose the latter. Now, think of anxiety as your internal smoke alarm. One of the biggest misconceptions in our culture is seeing anxiety itself as the problem. We hate that feeling of panic, shaky hands, rapid breathing, and a blank mind. Do we think it ruined our interviews, damaged our relationships, and blocked our success? So we try everything we can to shut it down, scrolling through our phones, binge eating, overworking, drowning ourselves in social interactions, or even turning to alcohol and drugs, just to make that damn alarm stop. But we've misunderstood it. Anxiety, like that smoke alarm, isn't the fire itself. It's just a warning. Its presence is desperately trying to tell you, hey, pay attention. Something you care about might be at risk. You feel anxious before an interview because you really want the job and value the opportunity. You feel anxious after a fight with your partner because you care about the relationship and fear losing it. Your anxiety about the uncertainty of the future stems from your hopes for life and your longing for safety and stability. In psychology, anxiety is an emotion rooted in the survival instincts of our ancient ancestors. In the perilous jungles of the past, those who were more sensitive to subtle changes, those who could feel anxious about potential threats, were the ones who survived. At its core, anxiety is about protection. It uses a method that may be uncomfortable, but is highly effective in prompting us to pay attention, prepare, and take action. When you define anxiety as an enemy, your life turns into a never-ending internal battle. You expend enormous mental energy trying to suppress and fight it, but instead of getting rid of it, you end up making it stronger and more destructive. Because when you attack the messenger, you'll never be able to hear the important message it's trying to deliver. But when you start trying to understand it, treating each of its visits as a reminder, you can ask yourself a deeper question. Okay, my alarm is going off. What is it trying to alert me to? What important need deep within me is going unmet? What am I afraid of losing? For example, the next time you feel anxious about a work task, don't immediately tell yourself, stop being anxious. This is so annoying. Instead, pause and speak to yourself like a curious observer. I'm feeling anxious. This feeling is telling me that this task matters to me, and I want to do it well. So, what can I do to increase my chances of doing it well? Do I need more information? Should I break the task down? Or maybe ask for help? You see, once you stop fighting, you start a conversation. You're no longer a slave to anxiety. Instead, you begin to become someone who can read the signals with wisdom. This is where all change begins. When you stop trying to smash the alarm, you finally have the chance to find the actual source of the fire and calmly put out. So, this is the first point. Treat anxiety as a signal. Don't try to eliminate it. 2. The more you fight anxiety, the more anxious you become. There's a classic psychology experiment. I ask you not to think about a pink elephant for the next 30 seconds. Ready? Let's begin. So, is your mind now filled with that damn, unshakable pink elephant? This phenomenon is known in psychology as ironic rebound, or the white bear effect. The harder you try to suppress a thought or emotion, the more intensely it bounces back. This perfectly explains why our attempts to fight anxiety often backfire. The more you tell yourself, don't be nervous, just relax, the faster your heart races and the sweatier your palms become. The more you try to appear flawless in front of others, the more likely you are to slip up. It's like falling into quicksand. Your instinct is to struggle, but the more you struggle, the faster you sink. The only way to survive in quicksand is counterintuitive. Stop struggling, lie back, increase your surface area in contact with the sand, and allow yourself to slowly float to the top. The same goes for dealing with anxiety. Our inner struggle is the very force that pulls us deeper into the emotional quicksand. In Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, ACT, developed by American psychologist Stephen Hayes, there is a core concept called the struggle switch. He explains that suffering equals pain times struggle. In life, original pain, such as a failure, a rejection, or a sudden wave of anxiety, is unavoidable. But most of the suffering we experience is actually the original pain multiplied by our added struggle. Our resistance, avoidance, overthinking, and self-criticism. For example, you often think, "Why am I so anxious? I'm so useless. This feeling is terrifying. I have to get rid of it right now. If I keep feeling this way, my life will be ruined." These thoughts are what flip the struggle switch. You're not only experiencing anxiety itself, the primary pain, but also enduring second and third layers of suffering, feeling anxious about being anxious. This is what truly drains your energy and causes the most distress. So, how do you turn off this switch? The answer is acceptance. Keep in mind, acceptance doesn't mean liking it, agreeing with it, or giving up. Acceptance is a wise strategy of non-resistance. It is a conscious act of allowing, letting the anxiety of the present moment exist without resisting it, without judging it, and without rushing to change it. Imagine anxiety as a sudden downpour. You could stand in the rain, angrily shouting at the sky, trying to will the rain to stop, but all that does is leave you wetter, colder, and more miserable. Or you could choose to quietly stand under the eaves, watching the rain fall, feeling the moisture in the air, knowing that the rain will eventually pass. This attitude of watching the rain fall is acceptance. It means that when anxiety arises, you say to yourself, "Oh, anxiety is here. I feel my heart racing, my breath a little quick. I understand. It's right here, like a visiting guest. I don't have to like it, and I don't have to force it to leave. I'll just sit with it for a while and see what happens." When you do this, something remarkable happens. Because you've stopped struggling, you've cut off the energy source that fuels the anxiety. That big pink elephant, no longer being chased away, starts to lose interest and quietly slips away on its own. The wave of anxiety, no longer blocked by a dam, flows through more quickly, leaving behind a calm and peaceful shore. As Laozi once said, "Because he does not compete, no one in the world can compete with him." When you stop fighting anxiety, it loses the power to fight you. Point 3. Anxiety only exists in the future, while you live in the present. Have you ever noticed a pattern? Your anxiety is almost never about this very moment. Right now, as you read these words, your body is safe, you're breathing, and the earth is functioning just fine. What truly causes you distress is the disaster movie playing in your mind. One that's all about the future. What if I fail this exam? What if I mess up my presentation next week? What if I'm 35 and still haven't found a partner? What if I lose my job or get sick someday? Anxiety is a ghost that lives in the future. Through phrases like "what if" and "suppose," it drags you away from the only thing that truly exists, the present moment, and into a future built entirely by your imagination, filled with uncertainty and fear. Your body exists in the present, but your mind has been hijacked to a battlefield of illusions, endlessly fighting countless imaginary enemies. This ongoing battle drains your mental energy and causes you to miss the real life unfolding right in front of you. While eating with your family, you're thinking about work. While chatting with friends, you're worrying about bills. While lying in bed, you're anxious about tomorrow, next month, or even 10 years from now. Evelyn, the protagonist in the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, is a classic example of someone consumed by anxiety. Her life is in chaos, and her anxiety stems from regrets over countless what could have been moments in the past and fears of endless what-ifs in the future. Her superpower is the ability to instantly experience every version of herself across parallel universes, an exaggerated reflection of our anxious minds, pulled in every direction by endless possibilities, yet unable to find peace in the one universe we actually live in. Her ultimate liberation, however, comes from returning to the present moment. It is her husband, Waymond, who gently reminds her with the simplest wisdom. Even when the world is in chaos, we can still choose kindness. We can still choose to savor the warmth of this very moment. She finally lets go of her obsession with the ideal life and begins to notice the clothes spinning in the laundromat, to taste the sweetness of a single candy, to embrace the imperfect but real family right in front of her. So how can we ordinary people break free from the time traps of the future and return to the present? The answer is incredibly simple. Use your 5 senses. While your mind can wander endlessly, your senses are always rooted in the present moment. When anxious thoughts begin to sweep you away, try this exercise right away. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. 5. Look. Intentionally observe 5 things around you. Don't just glance, really take them in. Notice the color of a book cover, the texture of leaves on a tree, the way light reflects off a glass of water. 4. Touch. Use your hands to feel 4 different things. Notice the cold smoothness of your phone screen, the softness of your clothing, the hardness of the table, the flow of air against your skin. 3. Listen. Focus closely on 3 distinct sounds around you, but it could be the distant sound of a car engine, the hum of the air conditioner, or even the sound of your own breathing. Smell. Try to notice 2 different scents. It might be the aroma of coffee in the air or the smell of ink on a book. Taste. Taste 1 thing. It could be a sip of water. Notice its subtle sweetness, or simply the taste of your own saliva. This exercise can, in just a few minutes, forcefully pull your attention away from an imagined future and anchor it in the solid present. When you're fully immersed in your sensory experience, your brain doesn't have the bandwidth to spin those catastrophic stories. Remember, your power doesn't lie in predicting or controlling the future. That's simply not possible. The only power you truly have lies in the present moment. When you can stay grounded in the now, anxiety about the future loses its foothold. For never label yourself as someone who is prone to anxiety. Language shapes our reality. How we describe ourselves deeply influences how we see ourselves and the course our lives take. When it comes to anxiety, we often fall into one of the most dangerous linguistic traps, turning a temporary emotional state into a permanent identity. Many people introduce themselves by saying, "I'm a very anxious person," or they keep telling themselves, "I'm just naturally nervous. It's who I am, and I can't change." "I'm an anxious person" might sound like a harmless statement, but it carries a deeply unsettling psychological implication. When you say, "I am," you're equating anxiety with your core identity. Anxiety is no longer just an emotion you occasionally experience. It becomes a defining part of who you are, like your height or your skin color, a fixed and unchangeable trait. Once you adopt this identity, you give yourself the perfect excuse to stop trying to change and to justify all your avoidant behaviors. Why didn't I go after that opportunity? Because I'm an anxious person. I would have definitely messed it up. Why didn't I go to that party? Because I'm an anxious person, and I feel uncomfortable in crowded places. That label becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, a prison you've built for yourself, one you can't escape. Now, let's make a small but crucial shift in language. Try replacing "I'm an anxious person" with "I'm feeling anxious right now." Notice the powerful difference in energy between those 2 statements. "I'm an anxious person" is a judgment, a conclusion. It takes away your sense of agency. "I'm feeling anxious right now" is an observation. It's fluid, it's temporary. That IT suggests that this feeling will come, and it will also pass. Most importantly, it creates a valuable sense of psychological distance between you and your emotions. You are not the anxiety itself. You are the awareness that can observe the anxiety as it arises. In ACT therapy, this is known as cognitive diffusion. It involves learning to see your thoughts and emotions as objects that move through your inner world, rather than as parts of who you are. Imagine your awareness as a vast sky and your thoughts and emotions, including anxiety, as clouds drifting across it. Sometimes the clouds are white, sometimes gray, and sometimes they're dark and stormy, flashing with lightning and rumbling with thunder. Then no matter how the clouds shift, the sky itself remains steady, clear, and vast. The sky doesn't become a storm cloud just because one passes through. You are that sky. Anxiety is just a passing cloud. So next time anxiety arises, try saying to yourself, "Oh, I noticed that the feeling of anxiety has shown up. I observed that there's a thought in my mind saying, I'm going to fail. There's a wave of tense energy moving through my body." By adopting this observer's perspective, you become like a scientist studying weather patterns, rather than a victim caught in the middle of the storm. You have disentangled yourself from being fused with anxiety. You're no longer the suffering actor on stage. You become the calm, clear-headed observer in the audience. This detachment brings you immense freedom. When you're no longer swept away by emotion, you can create a space for choice between the stimulus, the onset of anxiety, and your response, your actions. You can feel anxious and still choose to do what you believe truly matters. That is real strength, not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward in the face of it. And it all starts with tearing off that damn label, "I am an anxious person." 5. Don't get swept up by external anxiety. We've talked a lot about making internal adjustments, but we can't ignore a harsh reality. Many times, our anxiety is constantly fed and inflated by the external environment we live in, like feeding a growing monster. We are living in an era that serves as an unprecedented anxiety amplifier. Open your phone and social media bombards you with myths of achieving financial freedom at 20, carefully edited snapshots of perfect lives, and endless comparisons of body shape and appearance. In the workplace, 996 work schedules and wolf culture are held up as ideals, as if you're not a good employee unless you're completely drained. Consumerism tells you that you must own the latest products to prove your worth. Even family, which is supposed to be a safe haven, can sometimes become a source of pressure. Parents' expectations and relatives' comparisons act like invisible rulers, constantly measuring whether you are successful. We're like people trapped inside a massive, high-pressure, ever-heating pressure cooker. This cooker relentlessly sends us the same message: you're not good enough, you're not fast enough, you're not rich enough, and you're falling behind your peers. In such an environment, not feeling anxious actually takes tremendous willpower. Writer Alanda Botten sharply pointed out in his book Status Anxiety that much of our anxiety stems from our concern about how we are perceived by others, and from our deep-seated need to be loved and respected. A society that champions elitism and limitless possibilities only heightens this anxiety. It leads us to believe that success is solely the result of personal effort. So naturally, failure becomes undeniable proof of individual inadequacy. We're like hamsters running on a wheel, desperately sprinting, thinking there's a finish line ahead, when in fact we're just spinning in place, draining ourselves. We anxiously chase after society's prescribed markers of success: a higher title, a bigger house, more likes, believing that achieving them will finally put our anxiety to rest. But the truth is, you can never satisfy the beast called comparison and expectation. When you make $10,000 a month, you'll worry why someone else is making $30,000. When you become a manager, you'll stress over why someone else is already a director. This road has no end. So what should we do? Should we cut ourselves off from the world? Of course not. What we need to do is not run away from the world, but consciously stop passively consuming the junk food that fuels our anxiety. This takes a bit of courage to define your own rules of the game. Just as you care about what you eat, be mindful of what you watch and listen to every day. Unfollow influencers who make you feel anxious or inadequate. Cut back on the time you spend scrolling through social media. Instead, replace the endless stream of meaningless content with a good book or a thought-provoking podcast. Create your own anti-success standards. Ask yourself, apart from everyone else's expectations, what does a good life truly mean to you? Maybe it's not about making a lot of money, but having enough time to spend with your family. Maybe it's not about climbing the corporate ladder, but doing work you genuinely love and find creatively fulfilling. Maybe it's not about owning luxury goods, but having a healthy body and a peaceful mind. Define your own version of success and use it as your North Star in life. Practice the power of insensitivity. This concept, introduced by Japanese author Junichi Watanabe, doesn't mean being slow or dull, but rather having the ability to stay unaffected by external noise. When others show off, simply smile and move on. When others criticize, take what's constructive and let go of the rest, without taking it personally. It's a powerful form of psychological immunity that helps you filter out a great deal of mental drain. When you start making intentional choices, instead of passively accepting whatever comes your way, you'll discover a deep inner sense of certainty. And that is the best remedy for anxiety. 6. Use your breath to relieve physical anxiety. In all the previous discussions, we've tended to treat anxiety as purely a psychological or mental issue. But we often overlook the most important point. Anxiety is first and foremost a physical experience. Before the thought, "I'm anxious," even crosses your mind, your body has already sounded the alarm. Think back to how you feel when you're anxious. Does your heart start racing uncontrollably? Is your breathing short and shallow? Do your shoulders and neck become stiff and tense? Do your palms get sweaty, or does your stomach feel uneasy? That's because our brain and body operate as an inseparable whole. When the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, detects a threat, it immediately activates the fight or flight response, triggering a surge of adrenaline and putting your body into a heightened state of alert. This is a physiological process that operates independently of your will. The problem is that this ancient program was designed to handle sudden threats, like a tiger leaping out in the jungle, and it demands immediate action. But in modern society, the threats we face are mostly chronic and psychological, such as an exam that hasn't even started yet or a harshly worded email. We can neither fight nor flee, so the surge of physiological energy that's been triggered gets trapped in our bodies with nowhere to go. This is why prolonged anxiety can lead to real physical illnesses, such as high blood pressure, heart issues, digestive disorders, and weakened immunity. But on the flip side, this also gives us an incredibly important and often overlooked shortcut. Since anxiety is expressed through the body, we can also use the body to regulate our brain and emotions in reverse. Among the tools available through this shortcut, the simplest, most powerful, and most accessible one, something you can use anytime, anywhere, is your breath. You might think this sounds like a cliche, but don't scroll away just yet. Let me explain the science behind it. Our autonomic nervous system is divided into the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. You can think of them as the body's gas pedal and brake. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for the fight or flight response, making you alert and tense, while the parasympathetic nervous system handles rest and digest, helping you relax and stay calm. Anxiety is essentially an overactivation of the sympathetic nervous system, like slamming the gas pedal while the brakes have failed. One of the most effective ways to directly engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which acts as the brake, is through slow, deep abdominal breathing. In particular, extending the exhale can directly stimulate a crucial nerve in our body called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a major component of the parasympathetic nervous system, and activating it sends a clear signal to your brain. The alarm is off. You're safe. This is the hidden technique I promised to share with you from the beginning. It's not just about taking deep breaths. It's a precise physical instruction. I call it the 4-7-8 breathing method, popularized by Dr. Andrew Weil of Harvard University, and it's known as the natural tranquilizer for the nervous system. The method is very simple. Inhale quietly and deeply through your nose while silently counting to 4. Then, hold your breath and silently count to 7. This is the key step. It allows your blood to fully absorb the oxygen. Finally, exhale completely through your mouth, slowly and steadily, making a soft SSSS sound, while silently counting to 8. Repeat this cycle 3 to 4 times. You can do this exercise whenever you feel anxious, before a meeting, before going on stage, during a sleepless night, and so on. Its power lies in the fact that you don't need to convince your brain to calm down. You're using the language of the body to directly send a relaxed signal to your nervous system that bypasses the chaotic thoughts and, on a physiological level, cuts off anxiety at its root, breaking the vicious cycle. Aside from breathing, any activity that helps you reconnect with your bodily sensations can have the same effect. For instance, while walking, focus on the feeling of your feet making contact with the ground. During exercise, tune into the soreness in your muscles and the flow of sweat. Even something as simple as stretching can help you feel the release and extension of your spine. Remember, your body is not a victim of anxiety. It is your most loyal ally, holding within it a powerful, innate wisdom for self-healing. Learn to listen to it and use it well, and it will become your strongest, most dependable anchor in the storm of emotions. Alright, let's take a moment to reflect and summarize. We've come to understand anxiety in a new way, not as an enemy, but as a messenger. We've uncovered the paradox of control and realized that letting go can be more powerful than holding on. We've stepped out of the trap of time and learned to anchor ourselves in the present through our senses. We've broken through the illusion of identity, declaring, "I'm simply experiencing anxiety. I am not anxiety itself." We've examined external pressures and made the decision to reclaim the right to define our own lives. Finally, we've returned to the body and discovered the breath as our most primal and powerful anchor of calm. You'll notice that all of these insights point to one central truth: stop the war, start the conversation. Your relationship with anxiety doesn't have to be a life or death struggle. When you stop fighting it, not seeing it as a flaw that must be eliminated, and instead begin to approach it with curiosity, hold it with compassion, and transform it with wisdom, everything starts to shift. The vast amount of psychological energy you save can then be channeled into creating, loving, experiencing, and building the life you truly want. This doesn't mean anxiety will vanish. No, it will still show up, but it will no longer be the monster that consumes you. Instead, it will feel more like an occasionally visiting, slightly annoying old friend. It will remind you of what truly matters to you. It will nudge you to prepare for what's ahead. You might even begin to feel a bit grateful for its presence. I'd like to end today's talk with a quote from the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung, which perfectly captures the essence of everything we've discussed today. "I no longer strive to fight my demons. I am tired. I have begun to learn to live with them, and even to dance with them." Starting today, stop being so hard on yourself. You're tired. Letting go of anxiety doesn't mean giving up. It means reclaiming your life in a smarter, kinder, and stronger way. Give it a try. Things really will start to get better. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.